camera lock. Every frame of money shot. Cars on deck, press so clean, gloss so deep, you know what I mean. Foil kiss, edge line sharp, turn that stock into a spark. She don't talk, she delivers. Opie freeze when she enters. Legend status, still in motion. Stack details, wide as ocean. One more lift, watch it climb. Set the stage, just split the sky. Taktisphere, live session. Legendary drops. Taktisphere, live session. Watch the whole room stop. Digital print, embellishments. Make the page hard. Taktisphere, live session. She crushed the trading card. Spot UV catching the flash, emboss lines in the stash. Threads look mean, comments glow. Every sleeve got that show. She turns craft into flex. Every finish hit next level. Pressure on, she's still cool. Runs the table, breaks the rules. Collect the eyes on that spread. Goes damn shining overhead from prototype to final gloss. She makes every detail boss. Yeah, that rise, feel that charge. One clean move and go long. Taktisphere, live session. Legendary drops. Taktisphere, live session. Watch the whole room stop.
What's up, Taktisphere Live fam? Welcome back to another Taktisphere Live session. This one is going to be a banger. I see we got some folks in the room already. We had a lot of people. What is going on? Ken Heisinger getting in there. Bo, I see Jason Leonard. Jason Baker, the Jason boys are in. Jeff Bauer, Giraffe Man is in there. Look at all these guys, Kev. Ryan Moskin, of course, in the house. We're building up some momentum. We had over 50 people registered for this event, which is a pretty healthy live. We've got 20.
That's one of our records.
What's that?
That's a record for us. Everybody wants to see the Queen of Embellishments, April Lytle. Everybody wants to hear what you have to say, April.
Absolutely. It's a record. We're really looking forward to this, and trading cards are a huge topic. So let's get into this thing.
What? Are you in my backyard right now?
Yeah, bro. What are you doing in your office? Get out here. Bring the cigars and get out here. It's beautiful out here. Finally, I get to get out of the brick wall and come to your backdrop. Here we are.
All right,
in Kevin's backyard.
I will come down and join you for some cigars, and I will look forward to introducing April Lytle. April is a phenomenal subject matter expert. She's at Scodix. She has worked in the industry for years. She knows the design. She knows the brand. She knows the technology. First of all, April, thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge with the rest of the community. We really, really appreciate it.
I'm happy to do it. I love this topic because I think that this has sort of been my life for the past year, just working directly with brands and learning excessively about this industry, because most of the digital embellishment that's going on right now, especially at Scodix, is actually in the trading card industry. So
yeah. Did you collect trading cards when you were a kid or no?
Some. I actually have somewhere in my vicinity is a vintage box of J.R.R. Tolkien Lord of the Rings cards.
No way.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're looking forward to hearing everything and learning a lot about this part of the industry. April, without further ado, the floor is the Taktisphere.
Wait. I want some feedback. It's Taktiful, so you know you're going to get a song. What do you think of your song? And everybody,
oh my gosh,
that was listening while waiting for us to come on live, hit us in the comments. Let us know what you thought about the song. Legendary Drops had to have a banger, and I think it was a pretty good drop, right?
I mean, I've heard most of your songs, and I feel honored because I want to say that this one is like the most banger of all the ones you've done.
Of course.
We had to. It was even better for our product launch. I was like, oh man, this one came out even better.
Yeah.
One thing you'll get to know about us, we don't F around. That's for sure.
I mean, Legendary Drops is a good hook anyway, so
it's so good. Well, April, the floor is yours. We're looking forward to learning a lot. We'll keep up with the comments for you, and highlight anything. If there are any good questions, guys, hit up the comments. Questions are welcome. April is happy to do it tactful style, not really going to just rely only on the presentation, but wants to have some back and forth. April, take it away.
Awesome. I got you. All right. So I just wanted to take some time in the beginning here to talk about who I am and what I do. I'm not going to go into like my boring print history because that's been a long time, but I think it's more exciting about what I'm doing now. So I kind of came up with this title myself to explain the relationship between an innovative technology company and the direct communication with creative and production teams on the brand side. Being in this industry, we know that there was a huge communication gap between what us, Bright, whoever, Unifoil, and then the actual creatives on the brand side. Even from the printer to the brands, there's lots of communication gaps. So having that relationship in the beginning means that you have more creative print. It means that printers are getting better files, more educated decisions, and I think that there needs to be more people like me with these kinds of technology companies. So I've done training at Pokemon, Wizards, Upper Deck, Konami, Asmodee, Panini. I do a ton of work with Fanatics. That's kind of my focus presently. So the entire Tops line. I joke around that I probably do half of my work with Fanatics at this point, but I think that it's exciting because it's the perfect market for this, digital embellishment and other kinds of digital embellishment. And I love the saying is that, why haven't we seen this before? And it's because, people don't know what they don't know. And that includes people who like have our press or other people who have like on the printer side actually have this technology. Even their sales team doesn't always understand what the machines can do as well. So that's why these kinds of roles are so important. So traditional versus digital. I came from the traditional side of things into the digital side of things. And for the specific jobs, the short run projects, which is what we're talking about today, the legendary drops, the traditional advantages, are great for your long static runs. What I would call like the basic economy card. Also, it does aesthetic blind embossing. That's something that digital just really can't do yet. But for short runs, you've got prototyping, all the serial variable information, which is obviously super important to them, huge range of effects, and new ways of doing design that just really couldn't be done before. I think designers are especially excited about the fact that when prototyping, they can have several different concepts up on one sheet just to get an idea of what it would look like. And what comes off the press is obviously like shelf ready. So thinking about how to present today, I didn't want to focus solely on just the effects that could be done, but really it's about an education in the trading card world at large. Just sharing some of my knowledge that I myself had to learn. But if you're in the digital embellishment space, these are the types of cards and projects that you will see coming across your press. So there's parallels, a version of a card that shares the same mechanics but has the unique embellishments on it. The serial numbering, one of one. A good example of that is the One Ring card that Wizards of the Coast did for the Magic the Gathering is a great one of one example. Promotional, judge promo, event exclusives, hollow foil cards. If you're in the collectible space already, you understand some of these things. But one of the biggest things to get into is talking about the difference between collectible and competitive cards. So competitive cards, you have, Magic the Gathering, you have Pokemon. These are cards that can actually be used in a tournament. They have a lot more rules. They have to be as flat as possible. You can't have any metallic peaking. In no way can that card exhibit an advantage for someone else to figure out what card they have. So you still have rarities, you still have embellishments, but you have to, follow by the rules, which we'll get into. Collectibles just kind of go bananas. The things that I've been seeing that collectibles have been doing are just absolutely crazy. The aesthetic appeal is obviously highly important. You've got pieces of jersey or pieces of a bat, or it's crazy the kinds of things that can be included in these collectible cards. But they obviously just, handcuffs are off. They're going nuts with those. But both competitive and collectible have tons of opportunity for digital embellishment. So getting into the collectible side of things, you can have really extremely high tactility. I've seen cards that have physical sculpts of superheroes, of players, really almost 3D embossed, but with varnish. Lots of spot applications of cast and cure, starting with the cards of one, many combinations of effects, personalization and numbering. A lot where the trading card market dipped their toe in digital embellishment actually started with just the numbering. Doing variable data numbering, traditional hot stamp, was expensive. There was lots of labor. Most printers hated doing it, but being able to just apply those numbers digitally, especially with how far most of these technologies have come, with the flatness, with the size of the font being super small now, a lot of printers are able to achieve this kind of numbering digitally, whereas they couldn't before. So that's where a lot of them started. And in some cases, I know that there are people who own digital embellishment presses that are completely maxed out all day, every day with just doing the variable numbering. And they don't even do any of the other effects on the cards. So that's honestly where it started. And now, through my work, I know Ryan's doing it, through the tireless education of the brands, we're seeing more and more effects actually trickle into the cards themselves. And it's just because the designers of the brands did not even know that it existed or what they could do with it. So through education, I think if you give it maybe a couple of years for a lot of these production to go into effect, you're going to be seeing some absolutely incredible digitally embellished cards in the market and on the shelves. Varnish is obviously what I always call it, the lowest hanging fruit, because it's the easiest one and also the most versatile one to design for, with the highest impact because of the tactility. I love this piece. You can see it here. Precise Digital Printing did that of the stained glass. It's amazing. And you're holding it in your hand and it actually looks like stained glass, and it's just varnish. It's just a tactile varnish pattern applied digitally. The other one was with the Spider-Man. I meticulously, hand pinned out every single raindrop or mud splatter. These were the posters that we did with Greg Horn, a Marvel artist. And it gives, and obviously this translates into trading card size as well, not just posters. It just gives this really interesting and beautiful tactility that makes collectors go crazy. So With varnish, you can do like fabric textures, wet things. You can even do halftones for eggshell effects. Also with varnish, it amplifies all the color that's underneath it. So it's just a lot of fun to play with. And of course, all done digitally. For foil and films, I mentioned that a lot of OEMs are now getting super fine lines, small text. So beyond numbering, you can actually do spot holographic foils, lenticular patterns like faux micro embossing, foil and foil for emblems. It's really incredible the kind of foil elements and the detailing that you can get that match the card designs now. And then I love talking about cast and cure. I joke around with Tim Bright that I'm like his number one fangirl. And being in this industry and working with the materials, I can tell you that anytime that someone did not use Bright Technologies cast and cure, I saw it fail over time. I have pieces with Bright that have lasted, 6 years or more now. I just love their products. I think the patterns are really cool. And when we're partnering up cast and cure with trading cards, I mean, it's a home run, like no pun intended. I just think that the effect is really cool. You don't have to use a metallized board to get that semi-transparent holographic look. It's just super cool. One of my favorite things to design with. And then when you start putting varnish on foil, I tell everyone that they start becoming kind of a scientist. Because when you put varnish on foil, especially with like any kind of texture or pattern, the light starts bending through the varnish and sends it all kinds of different ways. And it is literal magic. And so I've been seeing a lot of this kind of combination of effects. If it's just the board itself or if it's actually a holographic foil that's been applied. But putting the texture on top of it, I've been seeing that a lot in trading card designs just because of the intense like effect that it has, with the movement of the light. I'm sure there's actually a science behind it. But right now I've just been throwing all kinds of textures over top of it just because of the movement and the bend of the light.
April, we have a little question for you. Is there a way to integrate trading cards within traditional marketing activities?
I mean, yeah. That's a whole part that I left out because I knew that I would like go down a rabbit hole actually talking about it. But a good example of this is what we plan on surprising people with at Printing United. So stay tuned for that. But I think any company, regardless of what you are, has an opportunity to do your own cards, especially with when you partner digital printing, like, HP with a digital embellishment and making them exclusive and limited and variable and personalized. I think that a lot of companies are now actually using trading card with marketing activities. You can do QR codes on them. I've even seen foiled QR codes that work great. So whether you're a trading card company that's using the cards for events or promos or unboxing or VIP, or you're just a regular brand or company that wants to like have your own trading card experience, all of that is absolutely possible. And I have seen it. So getting into competitive, there's, like I mentioned before, there's lots of rules. But because of the advancement of technologies, you can get foil down to 5 micron. You will never be able to do digital as a hot stamping because in terms of flatness, because hot stamping is actually recessed in with a die. So it sinks a little bit below the paper, and you will never get that obviously with digital, but it's gotten really, really close and down to 5 microns. So it's gotten really flat. Fine lines and text, I've gotten down to a 0.1 stroke already. I've gotten down to 5-point text. You can still use spot applied holographic effects like cast and cure because it can still be quite flat. Lenticular patterns, there's lots of motion lines, which is kind of close to how micro embossing works, but it's just really thin lines of foil that kind of move around the card. Spot gloss, which they love because you can get that really flat. And still, much like collectible, you can work with prototyping design concepts. So collectible, this is sort of the tournament legality rules. You have to be between that 5 and 15 micron height with about everything, which we've definitely proven. Anything, it says 20 to 50 microns here, but I don't even think that that's working with these companies. I know that they stay within the 5 to 15 micron heights.
April,
Yes.
we have a quick question from Bob Nickel.
Yes.
For non-competitive cards, how high of a micron?
Oh my gosh. So, at Scodix, the rule is as long as the substrate and the height clears 4 millimeters, that's how high you can build the varnish. And I can tell you with some of the prototypes that I'm doing with like tops, for example, I mean, they're well over 200 at this point. So like high is some of the stuff that I'm going to be seeing coming into the market. Now, I know that that's probably a nightmare for production, right? Because they have to figure out how to cut something like that. They have to figure out how to pack something like that. So we're seeing this sort of trickle effect that comes from these kind of designs into the production side as well. But I mean, they're figuring it out. They're already producing them. They're, making those changes on the back end. But those are types of allowances that you have to think about when these kinds of designs start coming in. Is how the hell do you cut something like that without it, impressing into the card above it? It is a little tricky, but they're, the printers are figuring it out. That's a great question. So for competitive, a lot of the same things, but just you're kind of avoiding the tactility and height that collectibles have. Also, you have to be extra sure to bring the foil back from the side of the card. With a thin line, I think it's safe to cut it, right? You're not going to be cutting like big flood areas of applied foil or big flood areas of like thick varnish. But with collectibles especially, you have to keep the foil away from the sides of the card, like absolutely no peeking. Because if they see like foil in a certain area, then they know what the design is and what card it belongs to. So again, just more rules. And then getting into anti-counterfeiting. The world, I would say Pokemon is probably the worst for this. There are so many places doing, it's almost like fan art Pokemon cards, but they're selling them as if they're real. There's a little collectible store, like locally, even to me, that just posted a big video about this. How there's a vendor who's selling, not officially licensed cards, and then their customers are getting super disappointed when they go to resell them and finding that they have no value. So anti-counterfeiting is huge for some of these brands, and figuring out how to include it on these tiny cards, but especially the ones that are highly collectible. How do you do that without involving some other process? Can you still do it digitally? And the answer is yes. There's a couple ways of doing it. Obviously, having some randomized variable data that's unique. There's actually a lot of these providers have like systems for including that data. There's security foil products. The one that you see here on the bottom is like a Kurtz, what I would call like house solution, but it can be absolutely customized with like the logos of the company. And this is like actual card size, so that little stamp is quite small. But even within that small stamp, there's like at least 7 covert and overt features in that little design. And then the picture's not great, but Bright also has cast and cure solution with overt and covert features that's a little bit more subtle because there's no metallization. It's all embossed in the film itself. So there's a few ways to even offer anti-counterfeiting solutions with many different overt and covert features, even with digital products. So there's no sacrifice there. So you can still have a beautiful, like limited edition, short run, high collectible print and still have the anti-counterfeiting that's needed for something like that without, going through a whole other process to add it on. The biggest thing you're going to see in the trading card gaming is metallized stock. They love it. It is on almost everything that they spec out. I myself have had to learn, the rules and the guidelines of using white ink and when you're designing for this kind of stuff. But there's this really amazing magic that happens when you start with a metallized stock, then you have white ink, then you have CMYK, and then finishing it with digital embellishment is like, oh, chef's kiss. It's literally a masterpiece. I think that's why I love working with trading cards so much. It's like little pieces of artwork because they're, like going for it.
Speaking of artwork, we have the one, the only Jason Leonard with a question for you.
Yes.
Nina. Jason wants to know, what's the most popular or common type of paper that's being used for playing cards?
Rainbow metallized board.
Interesting.
Like you see in the picture here on the left, rainbow metallized board. There's some silver, but they really love the rainbow. So I would absolutely say for like the premium, like short run cards, the high collectibles, rainbow metallized board. So much metallized stock. It's crazy. And much like I was saying earlier, when you put varnish on top of metallized board, it works the same way as if you did it over foil, like regular foil applied. It bends the light, it adds texture, it creates movement. But yeah, I love working with the stock. This is a unifoil board. I think that they make amazing paper, and I know that a lot of our customers have been using a lot of the unifoil metallized stock. And sometimes if they want to like switch, most cards are a glossy stock of some kind. I will say though, speaking of Nina, that they do a really beautiful, like uncoated stock that they've primed for digital embellishment that works incredible. And sometimes card companies do want to switch it up and have like a non-glossy card as a collectible.
Yeah, Jason, make sure you drop the name of that paper that you made for that.
It's the classic embellishment, and they have like a few kind of like colors and finishes for that. It's really great. So even outside of the trading card industry, I use that paper for a lot of my own personal like in-house marketing projects. So yeah, just plan on using metallized board. I know that it's difficult because the reflectivity can really play with a lot of presses. So make sure you're working with equipment that has like, the special camera system that can handle the reflectivity of the stock. Because that will be an issue. Not every printer is able to even work with that kind of stock. So getting a little bit in summary here, I tried to keep this sort of short. I could have gone off for literally hours talking about the different effects in a lot more detail, but just wanted to give you the basics of, the naming, the types of effects I've seen, the types of substrates I've seen, and the difference between collectible and competitive, which is super important, and understanding that, where digital embellishment plays is all of these highly collectible sides of things. Obviously, traditional printing will be like hot stamping will be for the, big long runs of cards that don't have numbering, like just the base cards. But we're talking about these truly special, like collectible cards that we see in these, TikTok videos. So there's zero tooling with digital embellishment. It eliminates all the like cost and lead time of dies. Really rapid changeover. It typically takes about 5 minutes to change over a foil color. Dynamic customization, like uniformity, because a lot of these presses have such precise registration. The uniformity off the run of the card is really amazing. You're able to work more with the specifications, create better rarities, do really amazing branding opportunities. That's what we talked about earlier. Again, I could talk about that all day, about how brands could work with artists and players or target certain VIPs, really go after like social media visibility with these kinds of things and curated experiences. And then inclusivity. And I didn't really get into this a lot, but it's sort of a passion of mine. Because of digital embellishment, you can now do inclusive shapes. You can do digitally applied braille. You can offer inclusive games to the visually impaired community. And I think that is freaking awesome. I don't know how that would work in a competitive field, but I'm sure that they would have like separate competitive gaming just for that.
Yeah, and Victoria Watts was doing some work with that. I know that you know her.
Yes.
Cyrus.
Like Herbal Essence had picked some of that up. I have been working with like the National Federation for the Blind. I have 2 examples of children's books here. And then one of our customers actually did SAT testing where the geometric shapes were raised tactile finish. And I mean, I could spiral about this topic, but just thinking about revitalizing a dead language and bringing it into things like gaming or testing or reading, even cards, is just amazing. I think the future in terms of inclusivity is going to be wide open because of digital embellishment capabilities.
A good question from Marco. What is the standard height for Braille?
Oh, I think that depends. A lot of that depends on the country. It's not even just about the height either. It's about the shape of the dot itself as well. So those are things. I don't remember the micron height for the Braille off the top of my head, but I can give you that.
So April, I remember, and I'm just going to throw in here that back in my day when we were trying to get this going, there was a difference between the Braille that you get off of paper and Braille that you get off of varnish, for a simple reason is the paper Braille gets pushed back down over time.
Correct.
Paper that gets pushed up, so it goes back down. So it has to be a certain thickness. With digital Braille, it doesn't get pushed down. So I think what we had found at the time that there was no actual standards for Braille heights, number one, and it was very country dependent, as you said.
Yes, that is 100% accurate. And the way that we're, digital embellishment does it now is like, it's a new era. Everything is new because now you also have textures and like what textures work better with like recognition. We had one author who went down that path, like worked with some of the organizations, had them actually test different texture heights, and then made the book based on those findings. So, I mean, it is an absolute new frontier for everyone in introducing the ability to have tactility and then like learning and braille and everything else. So I mean, we really are at the beginning of all this, of setting new standards and everything. It's pretty exciting.
All right, that's amazing. What a presentation! I learned so much, April, and I know that everybody here did too. Um, sorry, and really a phenomenally well done presentation. If anybody has any questions for April, I actually dropped her LinkedIn in the chat. Make sure you follow her. She's definitely worth a follow. She puts up some really good stuff, and she's a great resource. You can also just reach her directly in the Taktisphere, right, Eric? I mean,
yeah, you can not only, I mean, you can DM, you can also use connections in the Taktisphere to connect to April there as well, or LinkedIn. Or if you've got questions now, we're hanging. So let's use this time to go ahead and pick April's brain. Very nice presentation, April. It's always fun to hear from you geeking out on this kind of stuff. So if there's any questions.
We have a question from Bob.
Yeah, Bob. Good question, Bob.
So Bob has a question for you that regarding. Okay.
So it's called like, it's like a faux micro embossing. Basically, like you have a base that's a solid foil. Oh, you did make it outside, and you are having cigars. Nice.
He's literally right here.
The base is a solid passive foil, right? And then you take like the fine line foil that goes on top of it. That's your lenticular pattern. We've been working with micro embossing artists to actually understand what the tolerance is between the space of the lines. And I do have something actually with me because I just got it today from High Resolution. So it has pretty like fine lines on foil with lots of movement.
Is that Dave Drucker's card? I just got mine today too.
Yeah, it's so dope. And then it even has the braille on the back here. So it has, and this is a good example of like the precise registration, because this is CMYK print with these dots of varnish perfectly sitting on top of the CMYK. The things that you can do with digital is like incredible. Hudson Printing did those. I answered some questions in their process. It was kind of like a back and forth. The feeling is mutual, Jason. The feeling is mutual. You are just as integral to this space as anyone else, I promise. But yeah, so I mean that is kind of a lenticular pattern. It's really about how you design the lines for movement. And then you can actually do it with varnish on top of foil as well. But anything that is how the lines are designed to move is your lenticular pattern. And when you use those small ones on top of the base, that's when you start getting like the micro embossing and the lenticular.
Okay, very good. Well, we have last couple of minutes. I know that Bob's typing a question, or he might have a. I could see him typing there.
He bailed on it. No, he's typing again.
He's still going. He's. Oh, there it is. How about lines on print to create 3D?
Well, there's two ways to look at that. One is obviously like I would use your varnish. Obviously, when you start manipulating, when you're talking about height, you want to start moving towards varnish and away from foil, because foil just really does not like to be manipulated that much. If you're doing like a hot stamping, it's a little bit better because you're pressing the foil into the fibers of the paper. But when you're using foil with digital embellishment, if you start taking it too high, you run the risk of cracking. So when we're talking about 3D, I always go varnish over foil. Like put your foil as the bottom and then start building up from there with the 3D. There's two ways to look at that. You can either do like your basic lines with varnish up to like 100 microns or whatever, or you can start doing like with with Scodix, we have something literally called Sculpt, where you have up to 7 passes to create a physically sculpted shape with the varnish itself, almost like a 3D printer. It's super cool. The ideal max height for foil, I would not go beyond like the standard 50 micron. Most of what you feel and touch, and you're like, oh, wow, this is great, is actually around 50 micron. I would call that the default for what most printers like use for tactility.
Yeah, fully agree. And I think there's been some focus groups that when it comes to just varnish as well, saying like everything over 40 or 50 microns started to look plasticky.
It can, but it helps if you have like, again, if you have that over like a lenticular, for example, or if you have it over like a super holographic, man, it doesn't matter if it looks plastic or not, because the light is coming up through that built up of foil, and you don't think of it as looking plastic anymore because it's housing so much light in it. So definitely like think about the 3D over like a holographic foil or board, and yeah, it looks super cool.
Phenomenal. Well, listen, April, I wanted to give you a big thank you for hosting this amazing event and doing it with such grace and such class and so much education for the Taktisphere. Big thank you to April again. Follow her if you don't. Definitely worth a follow. Eric, we got some stuff to talk about real quick before everybody gets on with the rest of their day and we kick off our little vacation.
Yeah, that's right. We're on vacation. We're out of office tomorrow, technically. So don't.
It's our first vacation since we started Taktiful.
Yeah, so nobody bother us if you can. A couple things that I wanted to highlight. Again, thanks to April. This is a great live session, and thanks to the community getting this many people on. And if you notice, like most everybody stayed on. We're so engaged. It's just amazing to see. I did want to highlight some events that we have coming up. Of course, we have our AMA. How are we on vacation if we got to do an AMA?
Dude, AMA is vacation.
Okay. We got an AMA tomorrow at 1 every Friday. Come hang out with us 30 minutes. What I want to make sure everybody knows about that, literally ask us anything. And anyone on the call, you can ask them anything. So it's fun to just show up and see what happens. It's a big crapshoot. And then next Tuesday, we've got a Taktisphere Live event with Jeff Peterson at FSEA. He's going to give us a little sneak peek of the Print Embellishment Conference coming up in June in Nashville, 17th to the 19th, where we will be, as you know. And then last but not least, most of you have seen it, and a lot of you have really responded well to it. Well, we just launched something called the Digital Embellishment Manifesto. And you can read all about that in the link that I just put in the chat area. But basically, what we're trying to do with this is gather the industry, put a stake in the ground, stop apologizing for print, start making it tactile. And there's 95 theses to it, and Kevin and I are working on a book. And you can actually refer people to sign on to the manifesto. And if you get 3 people, we'll send you the first chapter of the book, the entire chapter, not a teaser or anything. So appreciate the support there. We want that to be an industry thing. It's not Taktiful owned. It's just Taktiful started, and we want to give that as a gift to the industry. So those are some things that we have going on. And thank you guys again. The Taktisphere fam is just amazing. I'm continually amazed at something that we started relatively recently is coming together the way it is, and it's just such a strong group of people. So thank you guys very much.
You guys are amazing.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
And see you at Nashville if you don't come to the next events, right?
See you in Nashville.
I think April's coming to Nashville.
April's cooking.
April's cooking in Nashville. All right. Let's do it.
April and Ryan, the Muskins out there, I think.
All right.
That's awesome. Glad to make this possible. Enjoy the rest of your day. Any questions, feel free to ping us. We can get a hold of April or just reach out and connect with her as well. Or show up in an AMA tomorrow for 30 minutes and ask there, because we'll be there.
That's right. All right, guys.
Now
See ya.
time for the pool.
Let's go swimming.